Tax day is coming.
Oh, no.
But if you sign up for Robinhood Gold's IRA with a 3% match, you can get up to $195 for the 2023 tax year.
Oh, yeah.
Sign up at Robinhood.com/boost by tax day to get the biggest contribution match on the market. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Robinhood Financial, LLC, member SIPC.
Welcome to the Dragon's Lair. Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast, the podcast all things Dragons RFC and rugby in the region. I'm Jamie, hope you're all doing well, and with me as always is my co-host and ELO's number one fan, Gavin Thomas. How are we, Gav?
I almost shut it down the minute you mentioned that then. I've had Twitter comments saying, well, why don't you like ELO? So honestly, life's too short to have to explain that shit.
Yeah, for those who aren't aware, if you listened to last week's episode, Gavin said that he hates ELO and in particular he hates Mr. Blue Sky. So it was just a little joke there about that. Okay, so we've got a special guest with us tonight, Gav.
We have indeed.
Absolutely, yeah. We're very pleased he's joined us. So he's played for various Welsh Premiership clubs, including likes of Cross Keys, Bedwas, Ebervale and Newport. He's represented Wales under-20s and Wales Sevens and was included in the squad for the 2018 Commonwealth Games. He made a senior debut for the Dragons at flanker against Wasps at Rondy Parade in 2013. And so far, he's made a total of 76 appearances, scoring 30 points. He's affectionately known as Jumbo. It is, of course, James Benjamin. How are we, James?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us. The first question I want to ask is, how did you get this nickname Jumbo? How did that occur? Who gave it to you?
Everyone asks me this. I've literally had this nickname since primary school. So there was a boy called Lyn Jones in year 4. When we were playing football or rugby on the yard, I was quite physical and I was probably a little bit bigger than everyone else when I was a bit younger. So he just started calling me Jumbo, and then literally since then forever, that's been my...
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. I just always wanted to know because I never knew. So, thanks for explaining that.
Yeah.
So, let's start at the beginning then. So, do you want to tell us about your rugby journey so far? So, how you came into the game and your career up to date? Where did it all start for you, James?
So, probably in primary school, I was probably more into my football really at Pentre Poeth and Basleg. So, I played football. My brother played a little bit of rugby and golf, so I always played in the back garden, whatever, with him. So started playing that probably about year 5, year 6. And then I remember going into Basleg comp then for year 7. It was quite a rugby heavy school. So I was sort of pushed in that sort of direction. And then pretty much ever since then, I just loved it. Played for, joined Whitehead's, Whitehead RFC then around year 7. And literally stuck with Whiteheads more or less all the way through. Same group of boys, which I went up through school. And ever since then, as soon as I started playing, that was my dream really, to be a professional rugby player.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. So as we all know then, you've converted from being a back rower to a hooker, and you made your first start for the Dragons as a hooker against the Lions out in Johannesburg last season. So how did that come about then? Was that an idea that you had, or did a coach say to you, look, James, you fancy being a hooker? How did it all come about?
It's like literally all throughout my career, it's been even like an academy. At one point, I was moved to hooker. Then at one point during the academy, I was moved to fly half for a bit. And then almost sort of just stuck at back row and sort of broke through then the pro game with back row. As you said, I did a little bit of sevens in and out. So if I wasn't really playing a lot for Dragons, I always almost had sevens as a nice distraction really to play. So I think the decision came. I came back from sevens the year of COVID, I think it was, or maybe a year after. And I played a little bit previously at 12, just cover in the A-League. So I spoke to James Chapron at the time and Dean Ryan about maybe potentially move to 12. At the time I felt like just off the back of sevens, it suited my game more, and really enjoyed playing there for a couple of games. And then that sort of link. It wasn't like a definitive answer then. And then I just spoke to the coaches, and they sat me down and said, "Look, we think there could be some legs maybe at hooker." So they just basically put it to me and said, "It's your decision. If you're willing to take the risk and to take the jump, then we'll back you with it." So yeah, I thought, why not give it a crack, learn something new, start all over again. But no, but I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot more difficult than I thought. I wouldn't say I was naive to think how much work needs to go into it, but it does need a hell of a lot of work, and you need to get it wrong about 1,000 times before I think you start feeling comfortable.
How have they converted you, James? Because kind of lots of the open play bit is quite similar, I suppose, but the technical stuff is very different, isn't it? So how did they go about converting you?
Well, luckily, we had Nevin Davis, who's a hooker, and he helped me a lot, and all the boys there at the time. I remember like Reece Lawrence, he helped a lot with me with my throw in and stuff. So Mev focused a lot on the scrums, profiling. That was big. Obviously, I had like a slightly different program weights wise to try and like for neck and shoulder stuff. That was quite important. So it's like a slow process really. I didn't play any games, I think, for like the first 8 to 9 months anyway. But it was good just to just get into training, make sure I was comfortable doing everything. So that was it really. A lot of technical stuff for the scrum mainly to start with. But like I say, you can't really beat just experience. Like it was good just to ideal world. I would have dived in a deep end at the Welsh Prem and sort of just played loads of games, make loads of mistakes, learn a lot of things. But I didn't really get that opportunity I think because of COVID and Dragons had injuries, so I couldn't really leave at the time like to do that. But yeah, it's quite a long process, but it's enjoyable.
And
sorry, go on, Cal.
No. In terms of having played lots of different positions, then which is your favourite? Then do you think?
Oh, it's tough. I always say centre. I always say 12. I don't think I quite got the gas at the time for 13, but 12 is good because I think there's 12. You're always on the edge of the defensive line, so you can see everything as it unfolds. Whereas, like if you're a forward, you're in the middle of the park, running round rucks, getting off the floor. So it is quite hard. It's harder to be a forward in that sense. And in attack as 12, you got a free run at the fly half every time off line out or scrum. So I enjoyed that quite a lot.
I bet when you played those A-League games that, the 10s didn't really fancy a pro-level back row playing the 12 running at them.
No, I know. A lot of them were about 17 or 18, but I enjoyed myself.
I bet.
Because what I was going to ask, you mentioned centre there. Tell me if I'm making this up. I may have got this completely wrong. I'm sure you played at centre once for the Dragons, but didn't Bernard Jackman select you at centre for a game at Astra Munich, or have I just completely made that up?
No, so I covered centre when Bernard was there, but for the A-League. But I think when I played back row for Bernard, we changed something tactically where when we had the ball, I basically play as a centre. So if you were like, instead of being in those pods of 3 forwards in the middle of the park or the back row on the edge, I would almost sit behind and be the connection between that. So I could call for the ball off 10 or off the forwards just to move it wider. I never actually got to play. I think I was down to play one game in Europe, I think against Bucharest away. So I was told the week before that after the A-League games, like, you've done really well, we want to see you have a go at 12. And then they put a team up and it was almost like a full Dragons team. And I was like, I thought I was going to be playing. So I don't know whether at the time, I don't know if the coaching staff at the time were told, like, you need to get some wins to turn it round or whatever. So they went full against Bucharest away. But then I just went back to the back row then.
I know you're a hooker. I mean, it's some transition, isn't it? Fair play to you.
Know.
Do you think
I nearly got on in the back for Gussie against Edinburgh because I was the last sub. I didn't get on, but I was going to go on for Gussie at 12. I was just like, oh my God. I'm glad I didn't actually.
Do you think though playing sevens has given you a much broader range of skills? Because you've got to be able to get around the park, you've got to have decent hands, you've got to be able to deal with kicks.
Yeah, sevens is so good for any back, for like wingers, even back rowers. It's such a good sport to do. Like the skill of just handling, seeing the game. Obviously, it's faster because there's loads of space and it's a little bit different. But like it was so beneficial for me, I felt.
Oh, good stuff. So let's talk about coaching then, because I understand you're coaching the Dragons under 16s. Is that right?
Yeah, so I've done me and Keds have done the 16s for the last 2 or 3 seasons. But this season now we're helping out with the 18s.
Oh, cool. And do you enjoy that, James, coaching? Is that something that you're going to think about after your playing career? Do you see that as a career path, coaching?
Yeah, definitely hope so. I know it's incredibly competitive, but like it's brilliant. I love it. It's it's a lot of time and effort, but it's really rewarding actually. And for the last 3 years with the 16s, it's been really fun, and we've learned so much because obviously you think and you plan things, but like nothing compares to just experience of coaching. Like obviously in the sessions and games, you just learn so much how you do things upon reflection and stuff like that. So it's been brilliant. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And I mean, to be fair, you've got a wide skill set now because you can coach the back row, you can coach hookers, you can coach centre, you can coach fly half. So you'd be pretty good, wouldn't you? In fairness, no?
No, I know. Yeah, I think I did coach the backs and then the 16s for a bit. I don't know if they were too happy about it, but I enjoyed myself.
Oh, good stuff. Okay. Look, let's talk about that Cardiff game, James. I'm not going to lie, mate. That was a really tough game to watch from the stands. No doubt it was even tougher to play in. Now, you did play in that game. You came on for Sean Lonsdale in the 18th minute, and you ended up in your old position in the back row. Look, it was a really disappointing result. Where do you think it went wrong, mate, in that game against Cardiff?
Yeah, I can imagine it wasn't a great spectacle to watch.
No, we weren't.
we went into the game with the tactics. Basically, every time we play Cardiff, we get done at the breakdown. Like they've got some really good jackalers. Yeah. They've got strong set piece as well, which was another area we focused on. So like the game plan was in our half, if we don't need to go through unnecessary phases. So we knew it was going to be a tight game. So we're going to have to kick a lot more and just put the pressure on them, knowing that they're going to kick the ball back. And then we would hopefully pounce then on a poor kick or a turnover of some description. So upon reflection, game plan wise, even though it's ugly, I think it worked. We actually had the upper hand, the set piece, scrum and line out. Probably should have definitely got more from the referee at more time, especially looking back, the amount of penalties we should have had, which was a bit of a killer for us, really. And then they've took their chances when they came. We didn't take ours, and that's just we were more disappointed probably just on the chances we missed and our poor execution. Whereas like if you flip to the week before against Edinburgh, we played a little bit too much, especially in that last 20. Like Edinburgh didn't play any rugby until the last 20 minutes because we were probably overplayed, if anything, which isn't a bad thing because you can always rein that back in. So yeah, that probably stung us a little bit week one, and then we just weren't clinical, I think, against Cardiff, which cost us.
Yeah, because we had a question from one of our listeners. You've already answered it, in fairness, and we do a new section now. It's a mailbox thing where we ask listeners to send in their questions and comments. But we had one year, and I was going to ask you this in particular, but you've already answered it. But you said, I liked it. This is from Alan. He said, I like to know what the game plan was for Sunday. Constantly kicking the ball away is not a game plan. I mean, it is, isn't it? But fair enough. I mean, that's his opinion, but it is a game plan.
It won a World Cup for South Africa, so I think
that's not
a game plan.
He's go on, James.
Oh no, I'm a rugby romantic as well. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I want to play first, and then like maybe kick second. But obviously, the more older I've got, I really like. But you look at Test rugby now; it's all kicking. France, South Africa, like they kick everything. Even New Zealand now, right? Who are probably the best footballing team, best rugby team, as in playing, can score from anywhere. They still got that, but they've had to rein that back, kick more, and then when they get chances, they'll take them. Like that's how they won that semi-final off what 2 or 3 chances to get to the final. Not the semi-final, the quarter-final. Sorry, they just had a couple of chances, took them, but stayed in the arm wrestle all game against Ireland. And they beat a good Irish team doing it. So I can understand the frustrations, like because I'm not a part of that team as well. I want to be able to play and everything. Yeah. But then if you look at week 1 against Edinburgh, it can cost you and bite you in the arse sometimes.
I totally agree. I believe pragmatic rugby is the best way, and I could see the game plan. I think you're absolutely right. It just came down to being Cardiff was slightly more clinical, weren't they? And that chance fell to Mason Grady, and no one was going to stop him.
Yeah. I mean, Alan did go on to say, if we had kept the ball and run it through the forwards, the game was there for the taking. 2 home matches thrown away by poor decision-making. So I think you've explained it well, James. What you're saying is because of the breakdown threat, because they did have Ellis Jenkins, they did have Thomas Young, Dan Lydiate pulled out like an hour before kickoff for personal reasons. And, it was a makeshift back row. And by the way, I'm not just saying this because you're on the pod. I thought you put in a really good shift on Sunday. All credit to you. You did. You worked really hard.
We both said that. I think, you brought a bit of physicality to it, but you also brought a bit of kind of, I don't know, you were looking for the ball a lot, and you were very visible.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, it's hard to take, really. Like we did have opportunities. We've got the luxury of watching it back and be able to analyze everything. We did create some things, some couple of opportunities to go wide or play a phase go wider, which we didn't take, which we're incredibly harsh on ourselves for, because that's what you look for, especially in a tight game, those chances, and we probably didn't exploit it. And again, we did have a lot of changes. It took a lot of our starter plays away, which against Edinburgh were really good. Like our strikes to score, just ended up with a hooker and a second row and the back row. Probably it didn't help things, so we had to go to them all. But yeah, fair enough. And thank you for explaining that, because I see a lot of comments on social media. Oh, why are they kicking all the time? Keep the bloody ball. And there was a guy behind me in the business stand saying, why is he bloody kicking again? It's probably my old man, Jen. It's probably my dad, honestly. He hates it. First thing he said to me.
Yeah. But there is logic, isn't it, behind it, James? That's the thing that the supporters need to understand. There is a logic to it.
Particularly in the second half on Sunday, with that wind and everything. If you hadn't kicked, you'd have actually been making it much harder for yourselves.
No,
exactly. Cardiff used a kicking game a lot as well. It was just that game, wasn't it?
Yeah. It wasn't pretty to watch, but it's just frustrating. We come out on the wrong side, really. It was getting that.
Yeah, I think it was compelling to watch. It wasn't pretty, like you say, but I think you could see 2 sides who were quite evenly matched, and and errors were going to be where the game was won and lost. I felt.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so that's 2 winnable games that we've lost, and unfortunately, James, we have got 4 out of the 5 first games, 4 of them were at home. What's the mood been like in the Strumpmann this week? Has it been a fair bit of, soul searching, and has Di been sort of hammering home that message about, taking those opportunities, and, you've reviewed the tapes? What's it been like? It must have been pretty difficult after 2 disappointing defeats.
Yeah, it is difficult. But especially some of the older boys and leaders in the group, we can't mope around. We've got a chance now against Munster this weekend, another tough test. Leinster home the week after. We can't feel sorry for ourselves. We just go again. We stick to our process, and we review the game honestly and as harsh as you can be, really. And then we move on. And that's the way it's got to be. You can't. Okay, 2 games we should have won, but we didn't win. Yeah. So we've looked at make a plan for Munster, look at it, train it, and then try and deliver it on the pitch, and that'll hopefully be enough.
Yeah, it's a difficult league now, isn't it, James, the URC? Because obviously, you would have remembered the old Rabo Direct League and the Guinness Pro 12, the Pro 4. You've played through those various leagues. And with the South African franchises coming in, I mean, literally every single game now is a proper test, isn't it? And there's no easy games in this league anymore. And we've got a very difficult fixture list coming up, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. There's no, like I said, there's no easy games whatsoever. But we got to believe. We have to have the belief that we can beat anyone. We beat Munster last year. They're current champions. We're going away there. It's going to be a tough place to go, but we're excited to give it a shot because we've looked at them. There's parts of the game we think we're going to try and exploit, and it's just up to us to be clinical, make the right calls, manage the game well, and we'll see where we go. Really.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so you had training today with the Dragons, but it wasn't a normal training session, was it? Because the Dragons trained against Wales at the Principality Stadium. That must have been an interesting experience.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really good. It's actually a really good session. Actually, like on a Thursday is we call it our fast day, so it's really intense, full speed. It's not necessarily live contact. We normally do the physical stuff on a Tuesday, but we had some like the set piece and forwards units was live, which was pretty good. And then we just sort of played game scenarios against each other. We were able to run our plays we want to run the weekend. They're running some things they want to run the weekend. It was actually just a really good session, really good tempo to it. And it was tough, which you want on a Thursday. And hopefully it's put us both teams in good stead for the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lloyd Fairbrother getting a call up for Wales.
About time.
Nobody saw that coming, though, did they? Let's be honest. Congratulations to him, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone saw that coming. But what did you make of that news when you found out?
Oh, I'm just so pleased for him. He got called in, I think, for that infamous Scotland game before COVID, which got cancelled. So he was down to play that game because I think there was injuries.
Oh, right. Okay.
Which was, I think Will Griff John might have got injured and another tight head. And he was down to play in the Six Nations, but obviously the game got cancelled with COVID and everything. But yeah, his scrummaging ability sets him apart, I think, for tight heads. And like if you look at Test rugby, like you need a good scrum, like the set pieces under the microscope, and like he is a brilliant tight head, scrummaging tight head. So I hope it goes really well for him because this one game could, propel him on to being in that Welsh squad now for a while. So I'm really excited for him, really, and he works hard, incredibly hard, so he deserves it.
He does, he does deserve the opportunity, and you're absolutely right. He's a proper scrummaging tight head, and myself and Jamie have this conversation a lot. And I bemoaned the end of kind of the idea that tight head should be able to scrummage, and he's one of the last of that breed. I feel he's from that generation which just knows what the tight head should be doing.
Yeah, like I think every squad, every good squad has got like a Lloyd Fairbrother. Like you need a Lloyd Fairbrother in your team. Like he's durable. He could play most weeks. Apart from he had that Achilles problem about 2 years ago. I don't think he's been injured. Like he's incredibly durable, and he holds the scrum up so well for us. He's been like a huge part of the Dragon set piece for the last 10 years, really. I'm over the moon for him. He thoroughly deserves it.
Yeah, fair play. I hope he goes well. He's been a brilliant serve for the Dragons, and he is a good scrummager. Yeah. So, best of luck to him.
And there's good selection of Dragons boys as well, James.
He took our party. No, it's gonna be good for them. Like some of them obviously didn't go to the World Cup, so there's another chance for them to put their hands up. And some of them obviously went to the World Cup, and probably. Again, another chance really to play in a Welsh jersey in a great day really for Welsh rugby with Alan Wynne and Tips.
Yeah, it should be a good game. I mean, I'm not happy about the timing of it. I've been pretty outspoken about that, but I hope all our Dragons boys. No, I'm not serious. I hope they all go well. I'm delighted for Lloyd. I hope it'll be a good game and a good experience for him. So let's end with this, James. So you've been with the Dragons for a long time now, and there's been many ups and downs during your career with the Dragons. But what are your personal highlights? What stands out for you? Any particular games you've been involved in? Any particular performances? What's been the career highlights so far for the Dragons?
Obviously, debut is always one. I think Wasps in the LV Cup, obviously, make the debut was massive, really. And there's obviously a lot of boys. Like Ashton made his debut that day. Joe Davis, Scott Matthews, Pontypool captain, my old back row partner, he made his debut, I think, the week before. So that was big. I think so at the time under Lyn Jones, I look back pretty fondly on, like, unbelievable coach. Like, looking back now, obviously when you're young, you don't really understand some of the things you're trying to do. You're just there training and enjoying it and just immerse yourself in it fully. But like, he was an unbelievable coach. Some of the stuff he used to do, like, it's relevant now. Like, it's not like the coaches come in. It's not like groundbreaking. Like, we did this with Lyn 10 years ago. Like, he was just such ahead of the game. So I think, at the time we had a couple of European Cup runs. Beat Cardiff Blues probably in the quarter final at Rodney. That was a great memory. And I think obviously some of the games against the Scarlets, I think when we beat them the last two times, we beat them last time in Judgment Day in the stadium. And I think 2 years before, I didn't play in those games, but it's really nice to get one up on the Scarlets.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Lyn Jones there. We had Ryan Lamman on last week or the week before, and he said exactly the same as you. He really rated Lyn Jones, the coach.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
And we had a successful period under Lyn. We remember that winning run we went on, So it's just interesting to hear you speak about Lyn and how you regard. Is he the favourite coach you've worked under then at the Dragons? Because let's be honest, we've had a fair few, haven't we? Paul Turner, Lyn Jones, Kingsley Jones, Bernard. Who stands out for you on the coaching? Definitely Lyn, is there?
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, I've got to say Di Flan as well right now. But,
of course, yeah.
Of course. And, but yeah, I will say Lyn was really good. And like, it was unfortunate. Like, the season, I think he had a good 2-3 seasons. And like, he's the one who brought in really like that aggressive defense. He was huge on that aggressive defense. Just the detail about like whether it be kicking game. I think he did a double on Leinster. Like, he trained stuff all week with us, like little parts of the game, like the little Jacqueline things here and there, ready for the weekend. And then he sometimes pull over the fly off and say, right, all the stuff we just done, just kick the corners and we'll be all right. And like, we beat Leinster away, literally put a start on the Monday morning. It was like, right, they've had 2 line-outs in their 22 all season. He said, every chance we get, kick the ball off the pitch in their 22. We played with Dorian at 10 and Tuvey at 15. So right foot, left foot, carry out the middle, hit one of them, they'll kick a corner, and just let them play from their own 22. And literally, we're all looking around saying it's a bit like negative or whatever. And then on the weekend, that's all we've done. They ended up playing up, losing the ball in their 22, turning over. We scored a try, kicked our points, and we beat Leinster away. And you just think, like, looking back now, you think like it's so simple, but like, he saw the game incredibly well, really, and set up the team tactically so well.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Dave Flanagan there. He is one of the nicest blokes in rugby, isn't he? And I've met him. He's just a really nice guy. Always comes across well. You can tell the players really like him and respect him. And it seems to be a good, happy group now with the Dragons. Does he ever get angry? Like, does he crack the whip? Because he just seems like a really nice guy to me. Like, have you ever seen him lose his shit? Or?
I wouldn't say lose his shit, but like, he's put his foot down a couple of times, which you need to. You've got to have that as a coach, I think. But yeah, he's incredible. Like you said, he's a lovely guy. He's genuine and honest, and that's all you can ask for, really, from a coach. As long as you're honest with your players, and I think you'll have that respect back. And I've loved working under him. I've worked with him in the past, a little bit of sevens. I remember him when he was. He worked a little bit with Dragons Academy and stuff. So I've known him for a long time, and a lot of the boys. So yeah, it's been really good, and it's a polar opposite probably to what it was like with the previous regime. So we're it's a lot happier place and a better environment, that's for sure.
Great stuff. Just a quick word on the World Cup. I mean, did you watch much of the World Cup? And if so, what were your thoughts on it? Did you enjoy the final and Wales's performance as a whole? I mean, they did better than expected, didn't they, in fairness, the boys?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Those quarterfinals were were class. Like, that's what, to see those sort of games, involving those teams like Ireland, France, obviously went out, but it was great to watch, really. And you just watch it in all, like, that's Test rugby, and the fine margins of that at that level, the physicality, like, and how much the set piece is under the microscope, how much the important set piece is at Test level is the game, really. Obviously disappointing for Wales. To go out against Argentina, I think it was probably the best game Argentina played. I thought
it was.
They were quite poor. It was so poor throughout the tournament. I've never seen a team knock the ball on so much. But yeah, so yeah, it was disappointing in that fact that we lost to them, because I think we were more than worthy to get to a semi. Whether I think New Zealand might have been a step too far, but for us, but Wales did well, and under Gats, I think it sort of brought a bit of stability back, and maybe that tactical nous, again, like, not the prettiest rugby necessarily, but try and keep a strong set piece, intelligent kicking game, and then when you get chances to strike and score, take them. And I thought Wales did that well at times.
Yeah. And the World Cup final was actually good, isn't it? Because I saw some people say it was boring, but I thought it was quite gripping. I really enjoyed it.
I think people who said it was boring show like a complete misunderstanding of what rugby is. Rugby isn't throwing the ball about and running around 15 blocks. It is about set piece. It's about that recycling of the ball. And I think, that final really did that very well, didn't it? Both those sides were exceptionally physical.
Yeah. Yeah, it was brilliant to watch. Like, it was gripping. It was so close towards the end. And, New Zealand did so well. They slowly built up every game to get better and better. And, like, they were written off before the tournament. And I thought they were brilliant to watch throughout the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. James, thank you so much for joining us. It's really appreciated. Best of luck out in Munster this weekend. Hope the boys go well. And best of luck for the rest of the season as well.
Yeah,
thanks for having me. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, James. Cheers, mate. Thank you. There you go. James Benjamin. That was a really good chat, wasn't it, Gav? Well, lovely. It was.
Well, really honest as well. Well, kind of exceptionally honest player. He's an honest player on the field and off the field.
Absolutely. I've always liked James Benjamin. I think I've always said he's a very talented rugby player. And I'm really glad he gave up his time tonight. I'd like to get more current players on the pod if possible. So I really appreciate James giving up his time and speaking to us.
I think it's fantastic that a current player would do that. It's
yeah.
But I think that's a Dragons thing. I think there's a willingness to communicate with the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, so, Gav, we are going to have to talk about it. I'm not going to dwell on this too much, but that Cardiff game on Sunday. So the hoodoo continues. The Dragons' miserable streak against Cardiff was now stretched to 17 defeats after a 16-9 loss in, quite frankly, a woeful derby at Rodney Parade. So the Dragons trailed 13-6 after a poor first half. Wales international Mason Grady scored for the visitors after a charge down from Angus O'Brien. In the second half, Tina Stabia settled the game with a penalty kick. And then after that, Angus O'Brien scored a penalty in the 79th minute for us to pick up a losing bonus point. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong, didn't it? Dan Lydiate pulled out before the game for personal reasons. Nothing you could do about that. I wish him the best on that one. Inside the first 25 minutes, we had Rodrigo Martinez come off injured. Then Sean Lonsdale came off. That's when James came on for him and had to play in the back row. And then number 8, Keddy, had to come off as well. So we were up against it, wasn't we, from the very beginning? We ended up with a back row of James, who, as I said, put in a really good shift, Ben Carter and George Knott. And they all worked incredibly hard. But when you're up against the back row, Katayden, Ellis Jenkins and Thomas Young, it's really, really difficult. And a lot of people have been complaining about the kicking. I know it's frustrating for some people, but it was the correct game plan. I just thought our kicking was poorly executed. What were your thoughts on the game, Gav?
Well, you've hit the nail exactly on the head. The game plan was right. I think the execution was poor. Both. It was clearly going to be a kicking game. So our kicking game, like the wrong option were taken at the wrong time. We kicked long when we needed to kick short. We kicked short when we needed to kick long. And sometimes when we were in the opposition 22, when we kicked when we didn't have to kick at all. And that was a comment that James was making. We probably had another phase of play in us, and we didn't take those phases of play. But what we didn't do as well is defend the opposition kick either. The South African 10, whose name will never stick in my brain for some reason, for Cardiff.
Tinus De Beer, yeah.
De Beer, yeah. His kicking wasn't great. It was well placed and everything, but it was utterly defendable. But there was a couple of times he just kicked up over the top.
Yeah.
And our defence absolutely fell apart. There was no one sweeping. It was all just a bit chaotic. And I think that's what, the game plan was exactly right, as James said. We don't want to be trying to run the ball through Thomas Young and Ellis Jenkins, because one thing's going to happen there and it's not going to be pretty. So the kicking, but and Angus, who I like as a player, I think is a very good player, had one of the poorer games I can remember him having for us. He just, nothing came off him. And then that charge down that, and the minute Grady was in space, I knew that was a try. It's...
Yeah. I mean, the first thing to say is, with De Beer, I mean, those donks over the top he was doing, they were very effective.
Oh, yeah.
It's a simple, what he was doing, it was a simple game plan. But their halfbacks controlled the game better than our halfbacks.
But by the third one of those dinks over the top, we should have been able to shut them down.
Yeah, I mean, he kept doing it, and we seemed quite slow to react to it as well, didn't we? I think that was the disappointing thing. You mentioned Angus O'Brien there. Look, I love the guy. He's been brilliant since he's come from the Scarlets to us, but that was undoubtedly his worst game in the Dragons jersey. His decision-making was really, really poor. You mentioned the charge down kick, and they highlighted on Scrum 5. If he passes right, they said, like, the numbers, Cardiff didn't have the numbers on the right-hand side. And I'm not saying it definitely would have been a try, but it would have been a very good scoring opportunity. And there were a number of occasions where he was doing grubber kicks in the Cardiff 22 when really just needed to keep hold of the ball, go through some phases. I couldn't understand the grubber kicks. He did that a couple of times, but a very disappointing afternoon for Angus.
He was playing on the edge and he was trying to push it, but the thing is that he didn't need to push. When we were in their 22, they're playing into the wind. We just need to make them play. But we were giving them get out jail free cards, and Tom Shanklin said the same thing on Viaplay about the opportunity when he was charged down. There's 3 or 4 players just all coming round on the angle, and if he's hit one of them, there's only one Cardiff defender out there, soft hands, and they're in. And I really felt for Jared with the opportunity in the second half down in the corner. But he had enough time, he rushed, and it's easy for me to say that. I was sat on a sofa in Sussex rather than in a rugby field in Gwent. But he had time, and he's an experienced player, and he played well, I thought, apart from that.
Yeah, we spoke about how good he was, didn't we, against Edinburgh? And he had all the time in the world. Now, to be fair, I will cut him a little bit of slack because it was a slightly awkward bounce.
Yeah, it was
which didn't help. But, I mean, you've got to score those. And I bet after the game, he was absolutely kicking himself, especially when he watches it back. I did feel for him. It was really frustrating at the time. Like, in the stands, we were like, oh, got our heads in our hands, But, they're human beings and they make mistakes. And, I mean, I'm not saying we would have won had he scored, but again, it could have changed the dynamics of the game. We could have put a bit more pressure on Cardiff because we didn't put enough pressure on them.
No,
but I think with Cardiff, they are vulnerable. If we put pressure on them, they will crumble. Like Benetton proved that, but we just didn't put them under pressure enough, did we?
I think there was also like a couple of things that worked against us. I think not having a back row that really was a back row didn't help, because I think I'm not a huge fan of George Knott, but I thought he did fine. He put a decent effort in. Carter did what he needed to do, but it's like when Rodri Jones came on, ref instantly took a dislike to his scrummaging.
Yeah,
and Rodri folded up in the first scrum he was in, got a penalty, and then he was scrummaging quite well, but there are a few things the ref did not like about that, and that really put us on the back foot as well. It was it wasn't a great game to watch. It was quite compelling because I still thought even towards the end we could do something, but as the game drew on, it was like, no, we haven't got a cutting edge.
No. The one thing I would say just before we wrap up on this game, I really don't want to talk about it for too long.
Well, I do have some positives.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, well, this isn't a positive, actually, what I'm going to talk about. I have to say, so I've been to a lot of games at Ronnie Parade, both rugby and football. That was the worst atmosphere I've ever experienced at Ronnie Parade. It was really, really strange, especially for a derby. It was very subdued, Gal. Very, very quiet. We got to the
quiet on TV.
There was no pre-match buzz whatsoever, like even before kickoff. I've never experienced a Ronnie Parade crowd like that before. Like, I've experienced games where, Dragons have put in really poor performances, and as the game has gone on, the crowd has got quieter.
Yeah.
But I've never experienced a game where right from kickoff, the crowd were just really quiet and silent. And it was a very subdued atmosphere, very strange game. This is supposed to be our big derby of the season. It's supposed to be the money spinner for the club. We had an attendance of about 5,272. Disappointed attendance. Yeah. And the one thing I will say about that, because I saw a couple of certain Cardiff fans sort of pointing fingers at our attendance. There weren't a lot of Cardiff fans there either. Where were they? They didn't show up. And, it's only just down the road for Cardiff. I know it's a Sunday, but, not even from Gwent, because you have got a lot of Cardiff fans from, the Caerphilly, Blackwood area. There was a scattering of Cardiff fans on the North Terrace, and then there was like clusters of them all around. But normally they come in their droves to this game, but there weren't a lot of Cardiff fans either. Very strange.
It's half-hour drive from the centre of Cardiff. Like, they can get there. It's it's not. Yeah, because I saw that on TV, and you could see a couple of blue and black shirts, but there weren't lots of them in that crowd. Yeah, from positives, I think Matthew Screech really put himself around a lot. He was always looking for the ball. He was always willing to carry, really, really willing. And a player who I historically have been quite critical of for many reasons, Bradley Roberts.
He was good. Really
he had
good.
a very good game, I thought. He always looking for work. He managed that maul really well, and he was, there's a couple of times Dane was coming to take the ball off him, and he's just shaking his head. Nope, that's not happening. I'm holding on to this a bit longer. He worked really hard, I thought. And his running was really, was a real feature. He broke the game line nearly every time he got the ball. So somebody I have criticised on podcasts and on Twitter before, like, you've got to be fair. He played very well, I thought.
Well, can you try not to criticise him too much? Because I might try and get him on the pod. So we'll have to be careful not to criticise some players if we're trying to get him on. It's a fine balance, isn't it? I love Bradley, as you know. I really do like him. And he was undoubtedly our best player. If I had to give a man a match for the Dragons, it would be Bradley. But like I say, I thought James did incredibly well, and George not for the shift. But a disappointing afternoon and yet another defeat to Cardiff. But this goes back. Go on.
So taking off my amber and black glasses, I thought the Cardiff fullback was very good. Just every time we kicked to him, he ran it back with interest. There's people say, what we're going to do? Lee's retiring and Liam's going to Japan. Well, couple of years, you've got a very good player there, I think.
He's going to be a future Welsh international, Cam Winnett. He was the official player of the match, well deserved. Oh, yeah. We peppered him an awful lot with high balls, and he was comfortable every single time. He never got flustered. I'll tell you what he reminded me of a little bit. Do you remember in the Six Nations, Wales against England? Do you remember when we just kept kicking all the time to Freddie Stewart? Yes. We kept trying to aerial bombs all the time, and every single time he was just like, catch it, no problem. It was a bit like that. It was a bit like, I'm not criticising the kicking. We knew why Dragons had the kick because of the breakdown threat and what have you. But I can't be doing with aimless kicking. If something's not working, if the fullback is comfortable under the high ball, try something else then. You know, you got to try something else. So, but yeah, you're right. I was really impressed with Cam with it, and yeah, he's a talent for Cardiff, isn't he? With this game, though, I've been saying for ages, as you know, I do think Dragons have a mental block against Cardiff. Now, I'm sorry, no team should be losing 17 in a row to Cardiff, and I will include Zebra in that as well. After the game, Dan Flanagan said, we seem to put pressure on ourselves against Cardiff and listen to the negativity of this run and how many we've lost. Excuse me. We need to turn up full of optimism, but the mindset is hard to shift until we win. So he's pretty much admitted it. It is a mindset problem, and it's kind of difficult to see how we're going to break this hoodoo that Cardiff seem to have over us, Gav, isn't it? I mean, it is psychological, isn't it? Do you think?
You said that before, and I was like, yeah, I'm not sure that's the case. But then
on
Sunday, I was like, yeah, no, I think he's probably right. Because, Angus just wasn't in the game. And a guy who the week previous had been making the right decision this time after time after time, made the wrong decision time after time. And, he's not a bad player. And it's not solely his fault.
Oh, no.
It's a 15-man game. But I think, if we'd had the Angus who played against Edinburgh, we were winning that game. Maybe if we'd had a back row as well.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, if we had a back row that had a breakdown threat, the proper ball carrying threat, then we would have been a bit more of an even contest to the breakdown, but we didn't have that. All good players have bad games.
Yeah.
That was just Angus's bad game, and I'm a massive fan of this. I continue to be a big fan.
Yeah.
So let's move on then to the listeners' questions and comments. So we're doing a mailbox feature now, Gav, where we ask the listeners to send in their questions and their comments about the game and just in general. So first up from Matt Williams, he says, once we get our internationals back, I think we will win a few games. But I am expecting all Welsh sides to struggle the same as us. Cardiff got a lucky bounce the ball with Gerald Rossend on try. It was an awful game and shows how far we are behind in Wales. I mean, Cardiff didn't really offer much in fairness. I don't think they were that good at all. I think they're going to get found out against bigger and better teams, and especially in the Champions Cup, because there's no hiding place there. But yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. Do you share this optimism? Like, once we get the internationals back, we're going to win a few games?
Well, I think we'll be a better side. I think other teams will be better as well. But if you think about, we are missing our spine essentially, and that's a key element of that. And I think, as much as Bradley played very well, Elliott is going to bring something else to us. Taine, Aaron Wainwright will bring balance to that back row, which hasn't been balanced. I don't think they're miraculously going to start beating Leinster or anyone, because we have to be realistic about where we are. But I think Scarlets are there for the taking. I think Ospreys are there for the taking. I think Zebra are there for the taking. Benetton. They're the teams we should be targeting. We aren't going to beat Leinster. We aren't going to beat Munster.
So you mentioned Zebra there. I mean, they could be 2 from 2, because they should have beaten Ulster and they could have beaten Ospreys. They were very dangerous against Ospreys. And someone who you know quite well, Johnny McGinty, I was listening to the Scrum of the Earth podcast this morning. Patricia Vieira was on it with Johnny McGinty, and they were doing a URC sort of preview show. And your mate Johnny thinks we're going to come last. No, he thinks we'll finish below Zebra. What do you think of that then?
I've had that conversation with him today, and his response was, because you are, when I asked him why you saying stuff like that. So he is doubling down, bless him. The thing is, Johnny watches a lot of URC rugby. He does know what he's talking about. I don't like admitting that, but he certainly does. And I think he's basing it on where we are right now. It's he doesn't massively rate Edinburgh. That was a game to win, was his view. I'd had a conversation with him about it, and then he said, they're the games that need to be winning. And I think he's right. We need to be beating Edinburgh. We need to be beating Cardiff.
Oh, yeah.
Because then we've got that run of games. They're going to, we're playing Munster in Cork, which is a horrible place to go to and play. Got Leinster at home, and Leinster will be back to, fully operational Death Star levels at that point. You know, and Munster will be strong because of Farrell's pathological unwillingness to select Munster players for Ireland. So they haven't lost lots of their core guys like Gavin Coombs and people, so they've all been there. And we're going to put a makeshift back row out against them again. And I know we're doing the preview. And then going to South Africa and you see what's happened to the Scarlets in those games.
Yeah,
you know, they've been absolutely pummeled both games.
Absolutely, 18 tries they conceded in 2 games. And the reality is, you know, it's never suppose we can look at them and go, bloody hell, that could be us when we go to South Africa. You know, it's tough for all the Welsh teams in South Africa. So I didn't think Scarlets were going to be that bad, mind. Can't be honest. No. Their defence was really dreadful at times. Really dreadful.
It's the curse of Johnny McNichol. You pick Johnny McNichol for the side and you won't win. When he was getting, when he was getting into the Welsh squad over Jonah Holmes, I was like, how is that a thing?
He's good with ball in hand. I've always said, attacking wise, Johnny McNichol is good, but he can't defend for toffee.
No,
that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to his comments then. Nathan Dark, seen some dire derby performances over the years, but that was up there. So, yes,
he's not wrong.
Should we have played internationals? Now, a lot of people have been asking this question. So Cardiff, now they rushed back some of their internationals. So they had Colby Domachewski, they had Thomas Williams, and they had Mason Grady. We didn't get any back. And a lot of people have been saying, why can we bring back the likes of Tate Basham, Elliot D? I don't think we would have had Alan Wainwright, to be honest with you. But there was an opportunity, I think, there to bring back some internationals. But the question for me is, and I don't know this, I don't know if you know it either, whose decision is it? Is it the WRU's, or is it Di Flanagan saying, no, I'm not going to select them? I suspect it's Di Flanagan not wanting to rush them back.
I would imagine it was probably somewhere in between the two. So I think Elliot, Tane, Aaron were always going to play in the pointless game on Saturday. So I think they probably stayed connected to the camp. Because Dan Lydiate was coming back. But then, for whatever reason, didn't play. So, I think some of it will have been Dan saying, actually, I don't want to do it. And some of it will have been Di saying, sorry, that he didn't want to do it. And some of it will be the WRU saying, we need to keep hold of these guys.
Yeah, because Domachewski and Williams are involved in this weekend as well. So right. It's strange, isn't it? I don't know the answer.
No, then maybe it was Dan just saying, Di, sorry, God, I'll remember his name eventually. Di saying, let's ease them back in. I'd have liked to seen a couple of them, and I think, particularly considering our back row concerns right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We could have done with. I think we could have really done with Tane Basham and Elliot D personally. I don't think we was ever going to get Aaron Wainwright at all, but we could have done with Elliot and. Tane.
Well, I think both Elliot and Tane are good at the breakdown, aren't they? And then we could have mixed and matched a bit more on Sunday, rather than what we had to do, which was rely on the high ball and the maul.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just checking the Wales lineup. Yeah, Domachowski is starting. And Thomas Williams is starting. So, like I said, I personally think it was a conscious decision by Di because he won't rush players back. I was reading the Dragons website earlier today. They were talking about Gonzalo Bertrand, and the first thing Di Flan says is, "We're not rushing him back." He won't rush players back.
He's
in
injured
some
as
ways
well,
it's
isn't
good.
he?
Oh, he is injured, is he?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, fair enough then. Because I was going to say, his player management is really good, but sometimes, I think myself, are we being a bit overcautious? And when we're not getting results, we kind of need to think, okay, lads, you need to come back now and try and turn the corner.
Yeah, Gonzalo didn't play in the bronze medal game because of an injury.
Oh, right, okay. I wonder if he's recovered now then or not, but fair enough then. That's fine. Nathan James says this. Now, this is the first I heard of this, but this is what he says. What are your thoughts on the players turning and giving a boost back to a fan after the fan shouted, and I quote, "Stop kicking the fucking ball away"? Do you think the players were equally as frustrated with their performance or frustrated with the tactics instructed to them? And if it is the tactics, why can't senior players take initiative and change game plan that clearly wasn't working? So there's a lot to unpack for you there. So first of all, what do you make of if a player's getting stick from the stands? Does he have the right to turn around and go off?
Well, I'm older than you, Jamie, and I can remember the days of going. I used to go to the Knoll quite a lot with my dad, and I can remember Kevin Phillips, the former Neath and Wales hooker.
Have you heard of him yet?
Yeah, he was a spiky character, and like he would regularly turn around to the crowd and just say, "If you think you can do it, come down here." Then he was one for. He didn't take, but it was a different days. It was the amateur days. It was very different kind of experience. The professional sportsmen, should they be swearing at members of the crowd? Probably not. But then should swear members of the crowd, just because you pay for a season ticket doesn't give you the right to be abusive to someone either, does it?
No, that's it. I mean, there's a difference between criticism and abuse, isn't there, I guess?
Oh, absolutely. You can say, I wish they hadn't done that. I don't think that's working, and just being abusive to people. I play a very, very low level of rugby, and rugby's a hard game wherever you play at. If you're playing at that top level, are they frustrated by the tactics? No, I don't think so, because you heard what James said. He said it was the right thing to do.
Yeah,
it just didn't happen. And you can be a rugby romantic. You can long for the days of Di Watkins. But that's not modern rugby. South Africa have won 2 World Cups by shoving the ball in the air and playing all the rugby in the opposition 22.
So many fans complain about kicking in the game, but it's done for a reason. Like I said, kicking is fine. It's the execution. I've always said it's the execution of it. Kicking poorly is not a good game plan. Kicking smartly is a good game plan, isn't it?
Whenever people say this to me, I point them towards videos that Sam Lana has done and that Robbie Squidge has done, both of which saying, this is why teams kick, this is why it's effective, this is why it's an important part of modern rugby. And I don't want to say it's ignorance. It's not ignorance, but you've got to understand it. It's a professional game, and it's not played the same as it was when I was a kid. You can't be swashbuckling because your livelihood depends on the results.
Yeah, absolutely. Another comment then from Catherine Ewan. Why were replacements not brought on sooner? Dane was clearly not having a great day. Yet we left it so long to bring on Rodri, who we already know changes the dynamic of the game. Do you agree with that? Do you think replacements should be made sooner? I mean, I will say, again, as much as I like Dane Blacker, I was a little bit disappointed with his performance against Cardiff.
He was quite poor, I thought. And I thought, Jordan Williams again, also, there were moments when he was great and moments when he was not great. But yeah, I think it was clear it wasn't working. That half-back pairing wasn't working. So I don't understand why we stuck at it so long. You've got a roll of the dice. Yeah. You could have brought Aled on. You could have brought Will Reid on. And, Will's a good kicker of the ball.
Yeah,
would it have worked better with another, 10 minutes of him?
See, a lot of people criticise the decision to have Rodri on the bench. I was of the opposite view, because I think what supporters forget, rugby is a 23-man game.
It really is.
You've got to have a decent bench. You need a bench where you got to have someone to come off it and make a difference. It's no good loading up a really good 15 and then you've got a weak bench, because that's not going to help and that's not going to change the dynamic of the game. So I was happy for us to start Dane and then have the experience of Rodri to close out the game if we were in a winning position. And I thought it was right to put Leon on the bench as well. So I didn't have an issue with that, but I was a little bit disappointed by Dane. I think he's a really good player, but I felt that maybe Rodri should have come on a little bit sooner. Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, so here's another comment then from Gareth Leclerc. He says, following the losses of some big name players in the summer, I didn't expect us to suddenly become a better team, but it's still been a disappointing start to the season. And his question is, there's a salary cap in place, but where do you think our new owners should prioritise investment? And in brackets, he's got staff, facilities, players, etc. Where would you like to see some investment, Gav?
coaching staff, where I've spoken about this a number of times. I like Doiflan. It's not an anti-Doiflan thing at any level. He's the right man for the job. But a defence coach would really help.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we didn't deal with simple stuff on Sunday, and that was a bit irritating. That was the thing that most irritated me. Kind of the facilities at the ground. Nobody likes the tent, but I don't think
hate it.
Yeah,
hate it. Absolutely hate it.
I don't think that needs to be the first point of investment, or because let's be realistic. Player wise, I would like to see some second row and front row kind of strengthening, because North and Lonsdale are fine, but I think you want better than fine. Maybe another centre, but this is all pie in the sky stuff. I don't know how much the new owners are willing to spend either.
Yeah, I had a comment as well, which I didn't read out. It was a question I didn't read out last week. I do apologise, and I can't find it now, but I do remember the question. So he was talking about Doug Flanagan, and he was saying that is there room in a budget to bring in a director of rugby? Because he expected a replacement for Dean Ryan after he left. So what do you think then, Gav? So, we know Doug Flan is a good coach. But do you think that he is a young coach, he is a rookie coach, but do you think he needs an experienced director of rugby to come in, or do you think he just needs experienced sort of support staff?
I think he needs experience around him, and that's what's lacking, because he's got guys who are from the academy helping him with stuff. So either get an experienced defence coach, get an experienced forwards coach or whatever, or just get somebody who's going to act as a bit of like a kind of mentor for him. Doesn't need to be a director of rugby role.
No.
But I think I would rather than just having a director of rugby, I'd rather just have a couple of experienced coaches to work under him. I'm the guy who is the new defence coach for Wales. Is it Forshaw, the guy who came from Sale?
Mike Forshaw. Yeah, Mike Forshaw.
Somebody like that with loads of experience from playing in coaching in England, someone would be really helpful, I think. I'm not saying we could afford him. I'm just using that as a kind of coach as an example. Or bring back one of our former players who's looking for coaching roles, who's been there and done that a bit as well. Give them a bit of a crack at the whip.
Another comment from Luke Johnson. He says, I'm optimistic. We never had our internationals, but the drop in performance from Edinburgh to Cardiff was poor. We need to be ruthless. Keep the ball in hand and not kick it 10 metres from the try line. There's a lot of these comments about us not kicking and keeping it in hand. Which on the one hand, I understand. There are certain positions where you think you got to keep the ball.
I agree with it. I completely agree. In the 22, just keep possession. Just hold on to possession. And if the kick is on, take it. Don't take it because you've run out of ideas. But as for kicking in your own half, do it all the time. Yeah, I'm a firm believer, I coach a particularly low level of rugby. But, my mantra is always play rugby in the opposition's half, not your own.
Yeah. Pete Hopkins says the tactical kicking for field position, especially in the second half, was very good. And in the conditions, good tactics. Yeah,
I totally agree with him.
Yeah. Yes.
What wasn't good was the attacking kicking.
What he says here in the next part of the question, he says, however, once we were in position after a few phases, we suddenly felt the need to kick when we should have kept in hand, which is kind of why we're saying in the 22, we kicked when we really needed to go through some phases in the red zone. We pressurised Cardiff. They didn't look like scoring apart from our errors. And I agree with that as well. I thought Cardiff were pretty limited attacking-wise.
Oh, gosh,
They did profit off our errors,
They scored one try on an error, and Kambango came close as well. But, that was about it. I think we had more chances.
Yeah, absolutely. Just trying to look for some more comments now. Daniel Green said, we looked worse than against Edinburgh. Much worse. That's a comment. Thoughts on that, Gav?
I don't think we looked as good as we did against Edinburgh, certainly, but it was a very different game, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, I think that's enough. Thank you very much all for your comments and questions. It is appreciated. We will do this as a regular feature because it's quite fun, and I like getting all your different opinions and viewpoints. I think it's time now for Gav's Gwent Rugby Roundup. So, Gav, have you got anything you'd like to say on the?
Well, no, not lots this week because most of the lower level teams were involved in the WRU Cups. Lots of walkovers. Newport Saracens all did win in their Division 5 Cup game against Llandaff North, 15-10. Saracens doing well in the league as well. They are doing particularly well at the moment. So a good season for them so far. In the Indigo Premiership, though, it's a Gwent domination, the Gwent supremacy, because we are absolutely all over the other clubs. So last Saturday, Pontypool beat Cardiff 16-9. Ebervale beat Bridgend 18-16 at home. Very tight game, that, according to some of my friends who were at the game. Kind of almost lost it on a few occasions. Newport won 29-21 away to Merthyr, and then on Tuesday night, Merthyr absolutely dismantled the fifth region, TM Lee Jarvis, Pontypridd, beating them 56-3.
What a result that is, so for Newport. In those conditions, because the weather's been absolutely awful down here with the storm, that's a cracking win for Newport. Fair play.
It is. Well, they are Newport, Ebbville and Llandovery all on exactly the same points now.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of Pontypool just behind them. Ebbville and Pontypool are kicking off in about 20 minutes.
And that'll be a proper Gwent derby as well, won't it? Especially in these conditions as well.
Do
you wish you were there, Gav? I bet you wish you were there.
I do, yeah. I kind of really miss, that's the thing I miss most about not being in Wales, is not so much watching I miss being able to see the Dragons, miss being able to see Wales, but I miss those kind of Wednesday nights in Pontypool or Cross Keys or wherever under horrible rain, and you're having a couple of beers and you're with your mates, and it's, that's what I really miss of Wales. It's I'm hoping to get up to Ebbvale around Christmas to watch some rugby then, though.
Good stuff. Okay. Is that everything, Gav, for the
roundup? We haven't got much this week. It's full league programme this weekend, so we'll have more results, and I'm going to try and focus on individual clubs and talk about them in a bit more detail as well.
Lovely stuff. Okay, cheers for that, Gav. Just a quick bit of news tidbits then. Obviously, we've talked about it already, but Lloyd Fairbrother was called up to play for Wales today. Congratulations, Lloyd. Like I said, I'm not happy with the timing of this game. It's going to put us in a very difficult position for all the pro teams. I mean, we got a Welsh derby going on in Llanelli. They won't have any Welsh internationals. The Ospreys on Friday night are having that showcase game in London against the Sharks. And of course, Justin Tipperick now is playing for the Barbars. They're not going to have their Welsh internationals. But like I said, I want our Dragons boys to do well in this game, especially Lloyd, because he's been a brilliant servant for the Dragons. Yeah. And, he's getting a bit of stick, he's getting a bit of stick from the usual suspects on social media, but they don't watch him week in, week out like we do. And he is a good scrummager, Gavin. Now, whether he can make that step up to international level, I don't know. I'm not saying no, I'm just unsure. But Warren Gatlin today did mention about his experience. So they could have gone for Will Davis-King from Cardiff. They could have gone Harry O'Connor, but they have gone for Lloyd Fairbrother because of experience. And let's hope he goes well. Listen, whether we think of this fixture, and it is a farce, I'm going to say it now, it's a farce. Yeah. Not so much a game itself, but the timing of it is a complete farce. Good luck to him and the Dragons fans.
It's not that popular either, because I was toying with the idea of going up to it on Saturday. And you can still get tickets. Tickets for me and my boy were 30 quid.
Really?
Yeah. It was just the 13 and a half hours of travelling that put me off a little.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Okay, and it's a good reason to put you off, I suppose. The other bit of news, I don't know if you saw this, Judgment Day is not going to take place at the Principality Stadium this season because the venue is double booked. It's being used for a different event, an unnamed event. So we're due to play Dragons on the 1st of June, and we are supposed to be the away team this season. We're going to be playing away in the Judgment Day fixture. There's a lot of Taylor Swift memes flying around on social media. I'm sure you've seen them. Grab from Ruckamore as we do. It is quite funny. It's actually nothing to do with Taylor Swift. So her concert is on the 18th of June. And then you've got a Foo Fighters concert playing 7 days later, which I'm going to, and I'm very excited about that. Do you like the Foo Fighters, Gav? What's your quick thoughts on them?
I like the first 2 albums.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay then. Bruce Springsteen is going to be playing it as well on the 5th of May.
Well,
Do you like Bruce Springsteen?
I'm a huge Springsteen fan. Yeah, I'm hoping.
I knew you would be.
Yeah, I'm of that age as well. Yeah,
I wasn't going to say that. I wasn't going to say the age.
I've been lucky enough to see him live a couple of times. He's a fantastic live act. My wife's a massive Foo Fighters fan as well. So, kind of all bases are covered. Yeah, he's playing at Cardiff on the 5th of May, isn't he?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So we don't know what this event is, this clashing with. It could be a pop concert. Patricia was saying it could be Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran always seems to, because he kicked Munster out of Thomond Park, didn't he, a couple of years ago? I've had the misfortune of seeing Ed Sheeran twice at the Prince Party Stadium. So the first time I bought tickets for my wife, that was a Christmas present. The second time, I knew nothing about it. I had no say in the matter. She just randomly bought tickets. And I'm not going to lie, the first time I saw Ed, I didn't actually mind him because I liked the first 2 albums because, they were sort of more indie singer-songwriter vibe. When he turned pop and wanky, that's when I just really went off him. The second time I saw him, I said to Jen, can you not get tickets again? I don't want to see him again.
So the only Ed Sheeran song I've ever heard is Galway Girl. And
my daughter loves that one. Yeah.
It might be one of the worst things ever. It's worse than the Mr. Blue Sky.
Oh, it is it?
Oh God,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, everybody knows it's bad, whereas everybody seems to think Mr. Blue Sky is good.
Yeah, that's true. So Nigel Walker has said, he is the interim chief exec. He said there will still be and I quote, Judgment Day style event. So there's talks of this being played at the CCS in Cardiff, which isn't ideal because it's out of town. Yeah. It's not as accessible as the Prince Party Stadium. There's talk of it being in Swansea, possibly. What do you make of it, Gav? It's another cock up by the WRU yet again, isn't it? And to me, the optics aren't good because to me, it just seems like yet again, pro rugby is not top of the WRU's agenda.
No. Well, I don't think rugby is. It's not just pro rugby. The WRU is thinking, we're a business. Businesses make money. Let's make some money. True enough. But if you were the Welsh rubber duck company and you had very little interest in rubber ducks, eventually people would be quite upset. And this is the problem. It's not just professional rugby. They don't care about grassroots game. They don't, half-heartedly care about the women's game. It's not good enough. If they're a professional organisation, run it professionally.
And it's a shame, isn't it? Because, the governance has been overhauled. There's more women on the board. They are making positive changes, but it's still the same old story. Maybe it'll take time. Maybe we need to give them more time to sort of, the changes to bed in. But it's just very frustrating, isn't it?
But, the Judgment Day is one of the kind of key moments in the Welsh rugby calendar. Has been for a while now, nearly a decade probably. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? It would be like me planning to go on a stag do on my wife's birthday. Like, what these dates are in advance. Turn down whatever it is.
Have you ever been to Judgment Day? Stadium?
Once.
What do you think of it then? Because a lot of I would say the hardcore, the season ticket holders, they absolutely hate it because they lose their home advantage. The only thing I'd say about the Judgment Day at the Prince Party Stadium, it is a good opportunity to catch up with mates and family, because it's an event. You go there, you meet up, and you have a good day in Cardiff. What do you make of it? Would you think it should be scrapped then, or
no? I think it's a good idea, and I think it's a bit like the Magic Weekend they have in Rugby League, and I know Rugby League fans who love that. They love to go up to Newcastle and spend a weekend. And a mate of mine who's a Hull KR fan, when they were playing in it, he completely didn't get to the Hull KR section of Magic Weekend but really enjoyed the entire weekend despite not seeing his own team. So I think it can be, but it's not, like you say, the hardcore might not like it, but, and I think it's accessible. I keep planning to take my son, but we all seem to be doing something else on that weekend. I know this year I was thinking, right, I'm definitely doing Judgment Day.
Yeah. No. Well, you still could, depending on what happens. The only thing I will say, whatever this event is, I hope it's one of two things. I hope it's either Metallica or the Rolling Stones. And if it's any of those bands, I'm absolutely fine with it. But otherwise, this is a disaster and a cock-up. And Piss Up in a Brewery springs to mind, as there with the WRU, yet again.
I saw the Rolling Stones at Twickenham. That was not a great gig.
Oh, really? I saw them in Cardiff Principality Stadium 2005, the Bigger Bang Tour, and I loved them.
Yeah, that's the same tour I saw them, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why didn't you like them then?
It was fun. I think it was the crowd rather than them.
Twickenham, though, innit?
Yeah, well, absolutely. They opened with Tumbling Dice, and I love it. Rex on Main Street's great album.
Song.
Yeah, great song from great album. And there's a guy in front of me goes, "Oh, why are they playing these obscure songs?"
Obscure?
Oh, Jesus Christ! Where do you know it's the opening track on possibly their greatest album?
Oh, what a... No, I won't say it. Anyway, that's enough news and Rolling Stone. I'd love to talk about Rolling Stones more, but we do have to talk about a game that's coming up this weekend. So it's not getting easier for the Dragons. Munster versus Dragons at Musgrave Park in Cork this weekend. Round 3, kick-off Saturday, 5:15. Game is live on Fireplace Sports as always, but it is also live on S4C. So if you're planning an afternoon in on Saturday, you can watch Wales Barbarians first, because our game is live on S4C. Straight after that is going to be Munster Dragons. So, it's good that this game is on free-to-air because, more people get to see it. Although whether we actually want to see what's going to unfold on Saturday is another matter. So last time Dragons beat Munster, when do you think that was, Gav? Tell me the year, the last time that Dragons beat Munster in Munster.
In Munster, I am going to say, I'm going to be ambitious. I'm going to say 2014.
No, it was much before then. It was actually 2000. It was 2004.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was going to be then. But
it was the first season of regional rugby. And that was the season as well where we actually did the double over Munster, believe it or not. We beat them in Rodney Parade the year before. And then in that same season, 12th of March 2004, it was Munster 6, Newport Gwent Dragons, as it was then, 16. It was that long ago, Percy Montgomery was on fly-off. Yeah. So that tells you how long ago it was.
Percy Montgomery's older than me, so that's...
Some other stats then. So the Dragons haven't won away in the ORC since April 2022, and I was in Leffley when we beat the Scarlets. That was the season where we didn't win a single home game, if you remember.
Yep.
And Munster haven't lost in Cork since losing to Edinburgh back in 2019. Wales, of course, don't have 7 of their key players for this game. We've talked about it already. They're with Wales, the Barbars. Unfortunately, Leon Brown is injured again. This is a calf injury that he picked up against Cardiff. We've talked about it before, Gav, just no luck whatsoever with Leon. And they're not going to have Sean Lonsdale or Harry Keddy because of the concussion. So it bodes well, doesn't it, Gav?
Yeah, maybe I'll fly to Cork and take my boots. Who knows?
So as Lee would say on the Rap Pod, what are your hopes and expectations for this game?
That we don't get prison shamed. That's about the extent of it. I've said we're going to win the last 2 games. We aren't going to win this game. We're going to lose by 25. And I think I'm being optimistic.
I made my prediction on the Rap Pod, and I was actually on a Munster pod last night, the Red Army with Kaylin and Patricia Vieira. My prediction was Munster by 22. It could be more than that.
Mm-hmm.
It probably will be more than that. But what I said to them is, obviously I don't want to see it. I don't want to see us get battered or have a heavy defeat. I just want us to take something out of this game. So if we come back with a try bonus point, or a losing bonus point. When we get that close to Munster, I don't know. But if we come back with something, a bonus point through this game, I think that'll be a very good return, given the circumstances. Given that the absentees that we've got out in Munster. So that's my hope. I mean, I obviously hope we're competitive, because the last time we played Munster out in Munster, now it was at Thomond Park, but we did lose 64-3, didn't we?
Yeah.
I talked about that on the pod as well. Now, that was the game where it was started to unravel with Dean Ryan. The rumours were coming out about, we lost the dressing room. And there were certain players, I'm not going to name them, that they looked like they didn't give a toss, quite frankly. They just gave up. So I don't want to see, we won't see a repeat of that, but it could be it will be a difficult afternoon for the Dragons there. Yeah. Just to say as well, when we record this, we don't know the teams yet. They're going to come out on Friday. Tane Basham may be involved, which would be pretty useful for us. It would be
very useful, yeah.
Given the back row problems we have at the moment. Ollie Griffiths apparently is going to be fit for this game. So he had a shoulder injury. That's why he wasn't involved against Cardiff. So he might be available. So to get Tane Basham and Ollie back, that'll be a big boost for us. Because I think if we are going to get anything out of this game, we got to win some turnover ball. The breakdown is going to be key, and we really going to need to win some turnovers, I think. And George Young, he's the youngster, the young flanker. So he might be involved as well. Now, Dave Flanagan has said, and I am a little bit concerned about this. Now, I know why he's done it. He says he's going to rotate the squad. And the point I made last night is, how? Because we haven't got enough bloody players. I don't know how he's going to rotate the squad, but I'm guessing he's going to start bringing in some youngsters. And, if that's the case, then,
this isn't a place to blood youngsters, Jesus,
No, not at all. But, I do understand it is a 6-day turnaround, and, but I'm intrigued, but also quite worried to see the team sheet when it comes out. Now, we won't have Lloyd Faber, of course. He has been called up to Wales, as previously mentioned. So we're probably going to see Chris Coleman, backed up by Luke Yendall, or we could see Nathan Evans, who's a very young and raw tight head. But losing Lloyd, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? 'Cause like I said, on the one hand, you're really pleased for Lloyd. He's getting a good opportunity. It'd be a great day for him, but it has shafted us a bit as well. It's a difficult situation. But Dave Flanagan won't see it like that at all.
He'll be exceptionally pleased for Lloyd, and he should be as well.
Yeah, not like Dwayne Peel, who's come out and had a right old grumble, but which I completely understand, by the way. I do understand it. But Dai is not that guy. He's not going to come out and complain.
But this is a massive thing for Lloyd. He's 30? It's
31, I think.
First international. He's getting a Wales cap. But that's when you're a kid and you grow up and you pick up a rugby ball. That's what you want, isn't it? And I'd imagine a 31 kind of fulfilling a childhood dream. That'd be fantastic. I've still not retired from international rugby, so I haven't given up hope yet. But dual qualified as well, qualify for England too. So they're doubling the chances. Okay,
so predictions then. So what are we going? So I'm saying Munster by 22. And what did you say? What was your final
Munster prediction? By 25.
Munster by 25. Okay. I just hope the boys are really competitive. And, I'm sure there has been some strong words up in Ystrad. I'm sure there's been some disappointment. But, like James said, they can't, mope about it. And, they've really got to front up. They've got to stand up and fight. Haven't they? That's what Munster men do. They've got to go there and they've got to give it. I said that on the Munster pod as well. That went down quite well when I said that. They've really got to front up, because I got this awful feeling if we go into our shells, it could get ugly, and we've got a really tough fixture list coming up now, Gav. So we got Munster,
South Africa.
Yeah, and then so it's actually Munster this week, and then Leinster at home next week. Then we got the Ospreys at home, which is a winnable game, because we do okay against Ospreys. That's only great, in fairness. But then we have to go out to South Africa. We got to play the Sharks and the Lions. So losing those two winnable games has really set us back. And I am a little bit worried. I said this on the Munster pod. I am at that stage, and there's only 2 games gone. And some people might be listening to this thinking, come on, mate, it's only 2 games, don't overreact. I'm already at that stage now where I'm not sure where the next win is coming from. Now, am I Am I right to be worried? I mean, are you more optimistic than me, Gav? Give me reasons for optimism. Where are you with it?
I think if Dai's talking about rotating the team, he's going to be targeting particular games. He's not targeting Munster because, not targeting Leinster because they'll be, kind of, like I say, fully operational Death Star mode. So we get nothing out there. Ospreys, let's target that. Let's target, because they haven't recruited particularly well. They're in a bit of disarray. They haven't looked good in the games we played. Let's target them. Let's go for them. Then South Africa, that's going to be a bear pit. And then let's think about Benetton, Zebra. Let's go for those teams. Let's give Ulster a go. Ulster are beatable. Glasgow are beatable as well. Johnny will disagree, but
Oh, please beat Glasgow. There's something I don't like about Glasgow, and I can't put my finger. Again, I talk about this on the Munster pod because they got a good rivalry now with Glasgow. There's something about Glasgow I just don't like. I really like it when we beat them. It may have something to do with the fact that they stuffed us all those years ago at Ronnie Parade. Remember, it was the 60 points to 3 or something like that. It may even have something to do with them putting 70 points on us last season. Quite possibly.
That was.
It may have something to do with that, but honestly, we got to beat Glasgow this season. Sorry, but not sorry, Johnny. After your comments about the Dragons, not sorry at all.
Sorry, Johnny. No.
Not sorry whatsoever. I think that's it for today, Gav. It's been a busy one, isn't it?
Yeah, lots to get through, lots to say.
Brilliant. Thank you as always, and to our listeners, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook. Please leave us a review on Spotify and leave us a review on Apple. We are now on Apple Podcasts, so if you rate and review us and tell your Dragons mates about us, it will really help us. So thanks once again, Gav, and we'll speak next week.
Thanks all.
Thank you for listening to the Dragons Lair podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question is, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.